What is success? It's a word that has been used so often it's lost much of its meaning, and yet it remains the central aim of every thoughtful man and woman. Everyone wants to succeed, to progress, to rise above the average, to live a life of meaning and abundance. But very few ever pause to ask themselves what success truly is, or how one actually achieves it. Today I want to share with you something so simple, so clear, that once understood it will never leave you. It is the one law that decides your success. It has shaped every triumph in history, and it is available to you right now. Before we dive deeper, I want to invite you to do something important. If you find value in these words, if they stir something within you or offer even a spark of new vision, I'd ask you to consider subscribing and sharing this message. Not for me, but for yourself, and for someone you care about. Because sharing ideas like these is how we keep them alive. It's how we invest in one another, spreading the kind of wisdom that can change a life. Now back to this one law. It's not complicated. In fact, it is so clear that many overlook it entirely. The law is this: you become what you think about. That's all. You become what you think about. Every philosopher, every sage, every spiritual teacher of substance has said the same thing in one form or another. The Bible says, "As ye sow, so shall ye reap." Marcus Aurelius said, "A man's life is what his thoughts make of it." Ralph Waldo Emerson reminded us, "A man is what he thinks about all day long." William James said, "The greatest discovery of my generation is that a human being can alter his life by altering his attitudes of mind." This is not merely a poetic idea, it is the central fact of human experience. Whatever you hold in your mind, whatever you dwell upon, shapes you, molds you, directs your actions, and ultimately becomes your reality. Most people reject this truth because it's too simple. They want something more complicated, something that excuses them from responsibility. But the truth does not need to be complex. It needs only to be understood, accepted, and applied. Look at your life as it is today. Your work, your relationships, your bank account, your peace of mind. These are the harvest of your past thoughts. They are the result of what you have consistently planted in the fertile soil of your mind. If you want to change the harvest, you must change the seed. If you want to change your results, you must change your thoughts. But let's be very clear. This is not about wishing or vague daydreaming. This is not about merely hoping something might happen. No. This is about purposefully, deliberately, and consistently thinking about what you want to become, what you want to achieve, and then acting in harmony with that vision every single day. Imagine a farmer who plants corn. He knows exactly what will happen. The land does not care what seed he plants. It will return corn if he plants corn. It will return weeds if he plants weeds. It is impartial. So it is with your mind. It will return what you plant. If you plant fear, worry, and doubt, you will harvest anxiety and failure. If you plant courage, faith, and clear goals, you will harvest success, peace, and fulfillment. Most people never take this seriously. They allow their thoughts to be dictated by the daily news, by gossip, by fear, by trivial concerns that do nothing but undermine their potential. They drift, they react, they conform, they allow other people's opinions to shape their beliefs. And then they wonder why life is so disappointing, why it feels so small. It is because they have not taken control of the one thing they truly possess, the ability to choose their own thoughts. Success begins with the decision to think differently, to take hold of your mind and direct it, to decide what you will dwell upon, to refuse to be a victim of circumstances and instead become the architect of your destiny. You see, circumstances don't make the man, they reveal him. When challenges come, as they always do, the person who has trained his mind on worthy goals sees them as opportunities. He adapts, he overcomes. But the person who has filled his mind with doubt and fear sees those same challenges as confirmation of failure. He quits, he complains, he becomes bitter. The difference is not in the world. The difference is in the mind. The one law that decides your success is the law of mind, the truth that you become what you think about. Let me give you an image to remember. Picture a captain setting out to sea with his ship. He has a clear destination. He knows the route. He plans for contingencies. And because of this, he arrives safely at his port. But imagine another ship with no captain, no map, no plan. It may drift for a time, but it will crash on the rocks or be lost at sea. Your mind is the ship. You are the captain. Without a goal, without a destination in mind, you will drift, and the currents of life will take you where they please. But with a goal, with the daily habit of thinking about that goal, you will navigate safely through any storm. Now some will say, but life is unpredictable. Circumstances are outside my control. And that is true to a point. But here is the secret. While you cannot control the wind, you can adjust the sails. While you cannot stop the storm, you can strengthen your ship. While you cannot choose every event, you can always choose your response. Your thoughts are your response. Your dominant mental attitude is your sail. It determines whether you are blown off course or propelled toward your goal. I want you to consider this carefully, because this truth is so powerful it can transform any life, but only if it is understood and applied. The world is filled with people who hear these ideas and nod their heads, only to return to their old thinking the moment the talk is over. Don't be one of them. Decide today to become the guardian of your mind, to become intentional about what you allow to take root there. Begin to monitor your thoughts as you would guard your home. You wouldn't let a thief in your door. Don't let fear in your mind. You wouldn't entertain someone who wishes you harm. Don't entertain thoughts of failure and limitation. Feed your mind with what you want to become. If you want wealth, think thoughts of abundance and service. If you want peace, think thoughts of gratitude and calm. If you want love, think thoughts of kindness and understanding. You become what you think about. This is the one law that decides your success. Accept it, embrace it, apply it, because in the end your life will always be the reflection of your dominant thoughts. If you've listened this far, it tells me something about you. It tells me you're not satisfied with drifting. You're not content to let life push you around. You want to take hold of the wheel to chart your own course. And that desire is the first step to transformation. But desire alone is not enough. We must understand how to apply this law in practical, everyday terms. It's one thing to say you become what you think about, but what does that mean when the alarm clock rings at 6 a.m.? When the bills arrive? When someone insults you? When you feel tired, discouraged, or alone? So let's talk about how to live this truth, how to make it real in the details of your life, because that's where the difference is made. It's easy to think grand thoughts on a quiet afternoon or during a talk like this, but the test comes in the hard moments, the daily moments, the places where most people give up and say, I can't help it. That's just the way I am. That phrase is one of the most destructive lies a human being can believe. That's just the way I am. No, that's the way you've chosen to be, whether consciously or by neglect. And if you chose it, you can choose differently. Your mind is a garden, and it will grow what you plant. But here's what most people never consider. Even if you plant nothing, something will grow. Weeds. Weeds of worry. Weeds of fear. Weeds of complaint and bitterness. The default setting of an untended mind is negativity, just as the default of an untended field is weeds. So it's not enough to say, well, I don't think about much, because something is growing anyway, and it will bear fruit in your life. The question is, are you planting deliberately, or are you allowing the world to plant for you? Think about the influences you let in every day, the conversations you have, the media you consume, the people you spend time with. Every single one is planting something in your mind. If you want to change your life, you must change what you allow to plant seeds. It's that simple. And that hard, because it requires vigilance. It requires saying no to things that may feel comfortable but are ultimately harmful. It requires saying yes to the uncomfortable things that help you grow. Now I know this isn't popular. People don't want to hear about discipline. They want secrets. They want shortcuts. But there are no shortcuts to lasting success. There is only the timeless truth. What you sow, you will reap. If you sow discipline, you will reap freedom. If you sow thoughtfulness, you will reap wisdom. If you sow courage, you will reap opportunity. But if you sow neglect, you will reap regret. And the tragedy is that most people will realize this only when it's too late to change it. But you listening now, you don't have to be most people. You can choose differently. You can decide today to become the careful gardener of your mind, to ask yourself at every turn, what am I planting right now? Is this thought taking me closer to my goals or further away? Is this conversation nourishing my vision or poisoning it? Those questions will transform your life if you're honest enough to ask them and brave enough to act on the answers. You see, the great advantage we have as human beings is the power to choose our thoughts. Animals react. They're bound by instinct. But we can choose, And in that choice lies our freedom. In that choice lies our destiny. Because it is not circumstances that determine your future. It is your response to those circumstances. Two people can face the same challenge and one is broken by it, while the other is strengthened. The difference is not the challenge. The difference is the mind. Now let's bring this down to the daily level. Let's talk about habits. Because thoughts become habits, and habits become character, and character becomes destiny. What do you do every morning? Do you rush into the day with no plan, no focus, letting the world tell you what to think about? Or do you take even a few minutes to direct your mind, to set your intention, to remind yourself of your goal? The first moments of the day are critical. They set the tone for everything that follows. If you begin in worry, you will find more worry. If you begin in gratitude, you will see more to be grateful for. This is not mystical, it's practical psychology. Your mind seeks evidence to support its dominant thoughts. If you say, today will be hard, you will notice every difficulty. If you say, today is an opportunity, you will notice chances others miss. So make it a habit. Wake up and choose your thoughts deliberately. Plant the seeds you want to harvest. Don't let the weeds of yesterday dominate the soil of today. That's the power you have every morning. And if you do it long enough, it becomes second nature. You will have built a mindset that serves you, that guides you, that protects you from the chaos of the world. But it's not only mornings that matter. Throughout the day, you must guard your mind like a fortress. Don't allow gossip to enter. Don't allow fear-mongering to take root. Don't allow anger to consume you. This doesn't mean denying reality, it means choosing your response. It means asking, is this thought useful? Is this thought true? Is this thought moving me toward my goals? If not, discard it. Replace it. Plant something better. This is work. Make no mistake. But it is the most important work you will ever do. Because you are the sum total of your thoughts. You are not your circumstances. You are not your past. You are not your fears. You are your chosen thoughts, repeated until they become beliefs, acted upon until they become habits, lived until they become your reality. There is no other way. There is no shortcut. But there is a path, and it is open to anyone willing to walk it. Anyone willing to take responsibility. Anyone willing to say, I will not let the world decide who I am. I will decide. I will think deliberately. I will plant good seeds. I will tend them daily. And I will harvest the life I choose. Because in the end, that is the one law that decides your success. You become what you think about. Not what you wish for. Not what you talk about. But what you truly, consistently, deliberately think about. So begin today. Begin now. Choose your thoughts as carefully as you would choose the materials to build your home. Because that's exactly what you're doing. Building the home of your mind, the foundation of your future. Consider for a moment what it would mean to truly live by this law every single day. Not just to hear it and nod in agreement, but to embrace it so completely that it becomes the guiding principle of your life. Imagine waking up each morning with the awareness that today your thoughts will shape your destiny, that every moment you spend in worry or fear is a moment you are building a future you do not want, that every moment spent in clarity and purpose is an investment in the life you truly desire. Most people never make this connection. They separate their thoughts from their results. They believe that success or failure is a matter of luck, of circumstances, of talent. But the truth is much simpler and far more empowering. You will never rise above the level of your dominant thoughts. You cannot sow one thing and reap another. The farmer who plants corn does not harvest wheat. The man who plants fear cannot harvest confidence. The woman who plants confusion cannot harvest clarity. This is the law. It is unbreakable, universal, and impartial. But if this law is so powerful and so reliable, why do so few use it to their advantage? The answer is found in one word: responsibility. Because to accept this law is to accept full responsibility for your life. It means you can no longer blame others. You can no longer complain about circumstances. You can no longer see yourself as a victim. And for many people, that is too heavy a burden. They would rather cling to the comfort of excuses than embrace the freedom of responsibility. But you are not most people. You wouldn't be listening to this if you were. So I want you to understand the weight of this truth, and also its gift. Because while responsibility is a burden, it is also liberation. It means that you are not at the mercy of the world, that you can shape your own destiny, that no matter what has happened to you in the past, no matter what mistakes you've made, you can begin today to change the direction of your life by changing your thoughts. Let's talk about what this actually looks like in practice, because this cannot remain an abstract idea if it is to change your life. It must be applied, it must be lived. So I want to ask you a question. When was the last time you sat down, truly sat down, in silence and asked yourself, what do I really want? Not what do others expect of me, not what would make people approve of me, not what is safe or easy, but what do I truly want? Because this is the starting point of all deliberate thinking. You cannot think deliberately if you don't know what you're thinking toward. You cannot steer a ship without a destination. Most people never do this work. They live reactively, responding to whatever life throws at them without ever asking where they're going or why. Don't be one of them. Decide what you want, define it clearly, write it down, make it specific, because vague goals produce vague results. Once you know what you want, your task becomes to hold that goal in your mind consistently, to think about it daily, to dwell on it until it becomes so familiar, so real in your imagination, that it feels inevitable, because the mind moves toward what it dwells upon. If you think about failure, you will find ways to fail. If you think about success, you will find ways to succeed. This is not magic, it is focus, and focus is the hidden ingredient in every form of achievement. Now some will say, but life is so distracting. How can I focus on what I want when there are so many demands on my time and energy? And that is a fair question, but the answer is simple. You make it a priority. You carve out time. You turn off the noise. You practice. Because what is more important than the direction of your life? We make time for what matters. And nothing matters more than what you allow to dominate your mind. You see, the world is designed to pull you off course. Every advertisement, every headline, every crisis, real or manufactured, is competing for your attention. If you do not take control of your attention, someone else will. If you do not choose your thoughts, the world will choose them for you. And the world rarely chooses thoughts that serve your highest good. It chooses fear, urgency, consumption, comparison. It wants you distracted, anxious, compliant. But you don't have to live that way. You can choose to be different. You can choose to be intentional. To turn off the noise, to sit in quiet, to think, to plan, to visualize, to affirm your goal and your ability to achieve it. This is not easy in a world that glorifies busyness, but it is necessary, because the quality of your thoughts will always determine the quality of your life. Think of the most successful people you know or know of. They are not necessarily the most talented, they are not necessarily the most educated, but they are focused. They know what they want. They think about it constantly. They align their actions with it, and because of that they achieve it. They are not blown about by every wind of opinion. They are not slaves to distraction. They are masters of their own mind. You can be that person, but it starts with one decision: to take your thoughts seriously, to see them not as idle musings but as the blueprint of your future, to guard them, to cultivate them, to refuse to entertain anything that does not serve your vision. This requires discipline, but discipline is the price of freedom. Without it, you will be a slave to your impulses, to other people's agendas, to fear. So I want you to ask yourself now, what am I thinking about most of the time? Is it fear or faith, doubt or confidence, complaints or gratitude, problems or solutions? Your dominant thoughts are shaping you, whether you like it or not. If you want to change your life, you must change your dominant thoughts. Start small, if you must. Catch yourself when you complain. Replace it with gratitude. Catch yourself when you fear. Replace it with courage. Catch yourself when you doubt. Replace it with belief. This is how you train your mind, not in grand gestures, but in small daily corrections. Over time, these small corrections become habits. These habits become character. This character becomes destiny. Remember, you become what you think about. This is the one law that decides your success. Not luck, not circumstances, not talent alone, but thoughts, deliberate, consistent, disciplined thoughts. Choose them wisely, plant them carefully, tend them daily, and watch as your life transforms to reflect them. If you've been listening carefully so far, you know now that the thoughts you hold consistently are the seeds you plant in the rich soil of your mind. But knowing this is only the beginning, because knowledge without action is like seed left in the bag. It produces nothing. To truly change your life, you must go beyond understanding and step into practice. You must cultivate your thoughts as a farmer cultivates his field with daily attention, patience, and intention. So let's speak now about the power of intention. Intention is the deliberate choice to focus your mind on what you want instead of what you fear. It's the act of deciding ahead of time what you will think about and what you will refuse to entertain. Most people drift through life with no clear intention. They allow their thoughts to wander wherever the world directs them. They think about bills, complaints, fears, other people's drama. And then they wonder why life feels chaotic, small, and unfulfilling. But the person of intention is different. He wakes up each day with a clear purpose in mind. He asks himself, what do I want today to mean? How will I move closer to my goal? What kind of person do I choose to be today? These questions focus the mind. They create a filter for experience. Because the truth is, life will always give you reasons to worry. It will always offer you problems to obsess over, criticisms to dwell on, fears to magnify. But intention is the decision to choose your focus deliberately, to choose your thoughts carefully, to invest your mental energy where it matters most. Imagine for a moment standing at the edge of a vast field with a sack of seeds in your hand. You can plant weeds or you can plant wheat. You can scatter fear or you can sow hope. You can leave the field to grow wild and useless, or you can tend it daily to yield an abundant harvest. The choice is always yours. But you cannot harvest wheat if you plant weeds. You cannot reap success if you sow indifference. And you cannot expect a life of abundance while planting daily seeds of lack and limitation. This is why intention matters so much. It is the commitment to plant the right seeds day after day, even when you don't see results immediately. The farmer does not see the harvest the day he plants, but he knows with certainty that the harvest is coming, so long as he plants, waters, and tends the field. So it is with your mind. You must hold your vision, your goal, your purpose with the same certainty. You must nourish it with focused thought, repeated affirmation, and consistent action. Now some might say, but what if I don't know exactly what I want? That is a question worth exploring, because you cannot move confidently toward something vague. Success alone is not a goal. It is a concept. You must define it for yourself. What does it look like for you? Is it a certain income, a specific role, a level of mastery in your craft, harmony in your family, peace in your heart? You must take the time to think, to reflect, to write it down. Because clarity is power. The clearer your goal, the stronger your focus. And the stronger your focus, the greater your results. You see, your subconscious mind cannot work with confusion. It requires clear, definite instructions. It is like a great machine that will execute whatever program you feed it. If you give it fear, it will produce reasons to be afraid. If you give it purpose, it will find opportunities to fulfill that purpose. But you must be clear. You must decide. You must write it down and revisit it often. And this is where most people fail. They are not willing to do the work of clarity. They skip this step because it is hard, because it requires thought, because it demands honesty. But if you want to change your life, you cannot skip this step. You must decide what you want. You must define it in detail, and then you must make it the dominant theme of your thinking. Consider the man who says, "I want more money." That is too vague. How much more? By when? Doing what? Why? The mind cannot work with such a foggy command. But the man who says, "I want to earn an extra $50,000 a year by becoming the top salesperson in my company within 18 months, has given his mind clear instructions. Now the subconscious can begin to work, to seek solutions, to notice opportunities, to generate ideas. The same is true for any goal. The clearer, the better. But clarity alone is not enough. You must hold that vision daily. You must think about it with emotion, with belief, with expectation. Because emotion is the fuel of thought. It is what transforms idle wishing into creative power. If you think about your goal with dread, with doubt, with fear of failure, you poison the seed. But if you think about it with excitement, with faith, with gratitude for its inevitable arrival, you nourish it. This is not mysticism. This is psychology. It is how the mind works. The thoughts you hold with emotion sink deeper, take root more firmly, and direct your behavior more powerfully. If you constantly fear failure, you will unconsciously sabotage yourself. If you believe in your success, you will act with confidence and resilience. This is why it is essential to guard not just the content of your thoughts, but the feeling behind them. So let me ask you, what are you thinking about most of the time? And how do you feel when you think about it? If your dominant thoughts are filled with worry, anger, resentment, envy, Those emotions are shaping you. They are planting seeds you will not want to harvest. But if your dominant thoughts are of gratitude, vision, courage, possibility, those emotions are shaping you too. They are planting seeds of a future you will want to live. This is the work: to notice, to choose, to replace. When a negative thought appears, don't feed it, don't dwell on it, replace it. Affirm what you want instead. When fear arises, face it with courage. When doubt whispers, answer with belief. When you catch yourself complaining, shift to gratitude. These small corrections, practiced daily, will change the entire course of your life. Because you cannot think one thing and become another. You cannot sow despair and reap joy. You cannot plant weakness and harvest strength. The law will not allow it. It is impartial. It is precise. It is unfailing. So choose today. Choose now. Become intentional. Define your goal. Commit to thinking about it daily. Hold it in your mind with faith and gratitude, and act in alignment with it, even in small ways, every single day. Because in the end, you become what you think about. That is the one law that decides your success. You might wonder at this point, if it's really so simple, if all it takes is focused, intentional thought, why doesn't everyone do it? Why doesn't the whole world live in abundance, in harmony, in achievement? The answer lies in one of the most powerful forces in human behavior: habit. Because while every person is born with the same capacity to choose their thoughts, most give up that power early in life, surrendering it to habit and routine. Think about how you learned to walk. As a child, you tried and fell over and over again, but you didn't quit. You didn't say, "Walking is too hard. I'm just not cut out for it." You persisted until it became automatic. But once you mastered it, you stopped thinking about it. It became a habit, useful, essential, but unconscious. And so it is with thinking. When we're young, our minds are open, curious, flexible. But over time, we develop habits of thought, most of them picked up unconsciously from our families, our schools, our culture. By the time we're adults, most people aren't really thinking at all. They're remembering. They're playing back the same old thoughts day after day, year after year. Worries about money, complaints about work, doubts about their own worth, fears about the future, regrets about the past. These thoughts are habits as automatic as walking. And because thoughts shape life, these habits shape destiny. But here is the good news. Habits can be changed. Just as you learn to walk, you can learn to think differently. But it will not happen automatically. It will not happen by accident. It requires deliberate, consistent effort. This is why so few ever do it. Because it is easier to drift. It is easier to blame. It is easier to say, "That's just the way I am," than to do the disciplined work of changing. But you are here listening because you sense there is more for you. You feel the truth of this law. You know that your life as it is now is the result of past thinking, and that your future will be shaped by the thinking you choose today. That awareness alone is powerful, because once you see the connection, you can never unsee it. You can no longer pretend that your thoughts don't matter. You can no longer fool yourself into believing that life is happening to you, instead of being created by you. So let us talk about how to change these habits of thought. The first step is awareness. You must begin to notice what you're thinking about moment by moment. This is not easy. The mind is slippery. It will wander. It will resist examination. But you must persist. Ask yourself throughout the day, what am I thinking right now? Is this thought serving me? Is it leading me toward my goal or away from it? This kind of honest self-inquiry is the beginning of mastery. At first you'll be shocked at how many negative, useless, even harmful thoughts cross your mind. Don't be discouraged. Don't judge yourself, simply notice. Awareness is the first step to change. You cannot fix what you will not face. The moment you see a thought clearly, you regain the power to choose. You can keep it or you can replace it. And that leads us to the second step, substitution. When you catch yourself thinking something you don't want to become true in your life, replace it immediately. If you think, "I can't do this," replace it with, "I am learning to do this." If you think, "I'll never have enough," replace it with, "I am creating abundance." If you think, "No one respects me," replace it with, "I am earning respect through my actions." This is not lying to yourself, it is choosing the seeds you wish to plant. Your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between truth and falsehood. It accepts what you repeat to it, especially when charged with emotion. So you must give it new instructions. Over time, with repetition, these new thoughts become habits, and these new habits create a new destiny. The third step is visualization. This is the practice of deliberately imagining your desired outcome as if it were already real. See yourself achieving your goal. Feel the emotions of success. Experience the gratitude of already having it. Why does this work? Because the mind moves toward what it vividly imagines. Visualization creates a blueprint in your subconscious. It programs your mind to notice opportunities, to generate ideas, to act in ways consistent with your vision. Athletes use this technique to improve performance. Salespeople use it to close deals. Leaders use it to inspire action. And you can use it to transform your life. But you must do it deliberately, every day. Ideally, first thing in the morning and last thing at night when the mind is most receptive. Close your eyes, see your goal. Feel it, believe it. This simple practice will change your dominant thoughts and therefore your results. The fourth step is affirmation. Speak your goals aloud. Write them down daily. Keep them in front of you. Because words have power. When you declare something, you reinforce it in your own mind. You make it more real. But affirmations must be done properly. They must be positive, present tense, personal, and specific. Instead of saying, I will be successful, say, I am successful. Instead of saying, I want more money, say, I am financially abundant. The present tense tells your mind it is real now. The specific details give it clear instructions. The fifth step is action. Because no amount of thinking can replace doing. Your thoughts must lead to action if they are to produce results. But here is the beauty. Right thinking leads naturally to right action. When you truly believe in your goal, when you think about it daily, when you visualize it and affirm it, you will find yourself compelled to act. You will see opportunities you missed before. You will have ideas you never had before. You will have the courage to try things you once feared. Action is the bridge between thought and result. It is the test of belief, because you will only act on what you truly believe. If you say you want something but never act toward it, it is because you do not yet believe it is possible. So cultivate belief through thought and prove that belief through action. This is the formula for changing thought habits. Awareness, substitution, visualization, affirmation, action. Simple, not easy, but infallible, because it is aligned with the one law that governs all success. You become what you think about. So begin today, right now. Don't wait for perfect circumstances. Don't wait to feel ready. Start where you are with what you have. Notice your thoughts. Choose them deliberately. Plant what you want to harvest, and act in harmony with your vision. Because in the end, there is no mystery, no secret reserved for the few, only this timeless truth available to anyone willing to embrace it. You become what you think about. If you've stayed with me this long, you've already shown a rare commitment, a willingness to go beyond casual listening and truly think. And that is essential, because what we're discussing is nothing less than the foundation of your future. By now, you know the law. You become what you think about. You know that thoughts shape beliefs, beliefs drive actions, and actions create results. But there is another dimension to this law that many ignore, a dimension that explains why some people succeed faster, with more ease, while others struggle despite good intentions. It is the power of emotional alignment. You see, it is not enough to merely think about your goal like you might recite a shopping list. Your thoughts must be infused with feeling. Emotion is the fuel that powers thought. Without emotion, your goal remains abstract, distant, lifeless. But with emotion, especially emotions of belief, gratitude, and certainty, it becomes magnetic. Your subconscious mind does not respond to dry intellectual commands. This is why worry is so destructive. When you worry, you are vividly imagining what you don't want with strong emotion. You're rehearsing failure, disappointment, loss. And because your mind cannot distinguish between what is real and what is imagined with feeling, it begins to accept these outcomes as inevitable. You program yourself for the very result you fear. Worry is negative goal setting. It is using this law against yourself. But the same mechanism works in your favor if you use it deliberately. When you vividly imagine success, when you feel the gratitude of achieving it, when you dwell on the excitement and certainty of its arrival, you impress this image upon your subconscious. You begin to expect it. And expectation is a powerful force. It shapes your perception, your decisions, your behavior in ways that lead you toward the outcome you desire. Think of it this way. Your dominant emotions are like the wind in your sails. You can have the finest ship, the clearest map, the best crew, but if the wind is blowing the wrong way, you will struggle or drift off course. Positive emotion aligns the wind with your direction. It propels you forward with less effort, but negative emotion fights you at every turn. So you must cultivate emotional alignment with your goal. This is not about blind optimism or ignoring reality. It is about choosing your dominant emotional state with the same care you choose your dominant thoughts. When fear arises, acknowledge it, but don't dwell on it. Shift to courage. When doubt whispers, answer with faith. When frustration appears, replace it with patience and determination. One of the most effective ways to do this is through gratitude. Gratitude is the emotional state most closely aligned with abundance, success, and peace. When you practice gratitude, you are affirming that good things are already yours, that more good is on the way. It shifts your focus from lack to sufficiency, from fear to trust. And the mind, conditioned by gratitude, begins to expect positive outcomes. It begins to notice opportunities it once ignored. It becomes receptive to solutions and ideas. Make gratitude a daily practice. Begin and end your day listing things you are thankful for. Include not only what you already have, but what you are moving toward. Be grateful in advance. Thank life for the success you are creating, the person you are becoming, the goals you are achieving. This is not wishful thinking. It is deliberate mental conditioning. You are training your mind to accept abundance as normal, as natural as inevitable. Another key is consistency. A single moment of positive thinking cannot overcome years of negativity. You did not develop your current mental habits overnight, and you will not replace them overnight. This work requires daily commitment. Just as you cannot get fit with one workout, you cannot transform your mind with one meditation, one affirmation, one visualization. It is the cumulative effect of consistent effort that creates change. So commit to daily mental training. Each morning, set your intention. Review your goal. Visualize it clearly. Affirm it with conviction. Feel gratitude for its achievement. Throughout the day, guard your thoughts. When negativity arises, replace it. When fear appears, answer it with faith. When discouragement tempts you to quit, remind yourself why you started. In the evening, reflect. What thoughts dominated your day? Where did you slip? Where did you succeed? This reflection is not for self-condemnation, but for learning. Each day is a chance to improve, to become more aligned with your vision. Over time, this daily discipline becomes second nature. Your mind becomes your ally, not your enemy. Your dominant thoughts and feelings become those of the person you wish to be. This process also requires patience. One of the greatest barriers to success is the demand for instant results. We live in a world that promises quick fixes, easy shortcuts, immediate gratification. But the law we are discussing is like the law of the harvest. You cannot plant today and harvest tomorrow. There is a season of growth. During that time, you must trust the process. You must continue to plant, to water, to nurture your goal, even when you see no visible results. Many people give up too soon. They plant good seeds but abandon the field before the harvest. They say it's not working because they don't see instant change. But the mind, like the soil, requires time to bring forth what is planted. Your job is not to dictate the timeline, but to maintain the process. To trust that your consistent thoughts, aligned with positive emotion, will yield the result in due time. And so I challenge you now, commit to this work for the long term. Decide that you will no longer think carelessly, feel thoughtlessly, or act aimlessly. Decide that you will be the deliberate captain of your own mind, that you will choose thoughts that serve you, that you will cultivate emotions that empower you, that you will act in harmony with your highest vision. Because in the end, this is not simply about achieving a single goal. It is about becoming a person capable of achieving any goal. It is about developing the mindset, the character, the discipline, and the emotional resilience that allow you to face any challenge, seize any opportunity, and create the life you truly desire. You become what you think about. Not once, not occasionally, but consistently, deliberately, passionately. This is the one law that decides your success. Embrace it fully, live it daily, and watch as your life transforms in ways you once only dreamed possible. Let us go even deeper now. You've heard me say that you become what you think about. that your dominant thoughts shape your destiny. You've heard how emotion fuels these thoughts, making them real in your experience. But there is yet another layer to this law that few understand, one that separates those who merely wish for change from those who create it. That layer is identity. Because you see, you cannot consistently think thoughts that contradict your self-image. You cannot act in ways that violate your own sense of who you are. Even if you affirm a goal with your words, even if you visualize it with your mind, if at the deepest level you believe, I am not that kind of person, your subconscious will sabotage you at every turn. This is why so many people struggle with change. They set goals, they make plans, they even work hard. But their results are temporary, limited, disappointing. Why? Because they never address the root. They never change the vision they hold of themselves. You will always act like the person you believe yourself to be. If you see yourself as poor, you will make choices that keep you poor. If you see yourself as unworthy of love, you will sabotage relationships. If you see yourself as weak, you will avoid challenge and growth. But if you see yourself as capable, resilient, deserving, you will rise to meet life's demands. So ask yourself now, honestly, who do I believe I am? What labels have you accepted without question? What limitations have you embraced as just who I am? These beliefs were not born in you, they were given to you by parents who did their best but were imperfect, by teachers who labeled you too quickly, by a society that profits from your insecurity, by experiences that wounded you before you had the tools to respond. But you are not bound to these old identities. You can choose anew. This is the highest use of thought, to redefine yourself deliberately, to hold in your mind the image of the person you want to be until it feels natural, normal, inevitable. Because once you change your self-image, everything else changes. Your thoughts align with it, your emotions align with it, your actions align with it. Success becomes not something you chase, but something you express. It becomes who you are. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine an actor preparing for a role. He studies the character deeply. He learns the voice, the mannerisms, the thoughts, the motivations. At first it feels awkward. He must remind himself constantly. But over time, through repetition and practice, he becomes the character. It is no longer forced, it is natural. You must do the same. You must choose the role you want to play in life and rehearse it daily. Think the thoughts that person would think. Feel the emotions they would feel. Take the actions they would take. At first it will feel strange. You will feel like an imposter. That is normal. Change is uncomfortable. But if you persist, it will become your new normal, your new identity. This is why I have spoken so much about repetition, because the mind learns through repetition. Every time you think a thought, you strengthen the neural pathway that supports it. Every time you affirm your goal, you make it more familiar to your mind. Every time you visualize success, you condition your nervous system to expect it. Over time, what was once foreign becomes familiar. What was once impossible becomes inevitable. So if you want to change your results, change your self-image. Decide who you want to be, and begin to think, feel, and act as that person now. Don't wait for evidence. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait until you feel ready. The readiness comes through the doing. This principle has been understood by the greatest minds in history. The Bible says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." Not as he thinketh casually, but as he thinketh in his heart, the deepest level of belief and identity. William James, the father of modern psychology, wrote, "Act as if what you do makes a difference." It does. He also said, if you want a quality, act as if you already have it. You see, the mind cannot resist a consistent message. If you tell yourself often enough, with enough emotion, "I am capable," you will begin to believe it. And once you believe it, you will act like it. And once you act like it, you will get the results that reinforce it. The cycle becomes self-sustaining. But it begins with thought, with intention, with the choice to see yourself differently. This is the most empowering truth you can ever learn. You are not a fixed entity. You are not doomed to be who you have been. You are not the sum of your past mistakes or failures. You are the sum of your dominant thoughts, your chosen beliefs, your rehearsed identity. And you can choose differently. So today I challenge you to define your new self-image. Not vaguely, not someday. Now, who do you want to be? How does that person think? How do they feel about themselves? How do they act? Write it down. Affirm it daily. Visualize it with emotion. Live into it, step by step. It will not happen overnight. But it will happen, because this is the law. You become what you think about. Not just what you think once, but what you think consistently. Not just what you wish, but what you believe. Not just what you say, but what you feel. And when your thoughts, emotions, and actions align with your chosen identity, success is inevitable. Not because of luck, not because of talent alone, but because you have become the kind of person for whom success is natural. This is the final key to mastery of this law. It is not about manipulating outcomes alone, it is about transforming yourself into the kind of person who naturally creates those outcomes. You become what you think about. Choose carefully, choose boldly, choose deliberately, and choose to become the best version of yourself. If you've traveled with me through these words, you now hold in your mind the shape of a truth that has changed lives for centuries. You become what you think about. It is not merely a clever phrase, nor is it a fleeting idea to entertain for an afternoon and then forget. It is the one law that governs all personal success, all failure, all growth, all decline. It is the master key that opens the door to whatever life you choose to build. But I want to speak plainly now as we close this time together, because knowing this truth is not enough. Knowledge unused is wasted. The graveyards of the world are filled with men and women who knew enough to have done better, who had ideas, plans, dreams, but never acted, never committed, never demanded of themselves the discipline to apply what they knew. Don't let that be your story. Because in the end, this law is indifferent to you. It has no favorites. It does not reward the worthy simply for being worthy, nor does it punish the unworthy simply for being undeserving. It only obeys the seeds planted. It only returns to you what you think about, feel about, act upon, believe in. It is impartial, consistent, unfailing. And that is precisely what gives you power over your life, because it is a law you can trust. There is no mystery to success once you understand this. There is no secret club. There is only the willingness to think deliberately, to feel consistently, to act persistently in harmony with a clear and worthy goal. There is only the quiet courage to face your own mind honestly, to see the weeds you have allowed to grow there, and to pull them out by the roots. And this work is lifelong. Let no one fool you into believing you can change your mind once and be done. The world will keep planting its seeds in you daily. Fear, doubt, distraction, envy, resentment. The news, social media, conversations with the careless. These are all fields of weeds that will spread into your mind if you let them. So you must remain vigilant. You must become the lifelong gardener of your thoughts. But if you do, if you commit to this work, if you practice it daily, you will discover something extraordinary. You will find that your circumstances begin to shift. Opportunities appear where before there were only obstacles. People respond to you differently. Your work carries greater meaning. Your relationships deepen. Your days feel purposeful. And you will realize that these changes were not accidents of fate, but reflections of your own transformed mind. Because life is a mirror. It reflects not what you want, but what you are. Not what you wish for occasionally, but what you think about consistently. And when you change what you think about, you change what life reflects back to you. You must hold this truth close. The world does not decide who you become. You do. Your boss does not decide. Your family history does not decide. Your bank balance does not decide. The culture around you does not decide. You do, with your thoughts, with your feelings, with your beliefs, with your daily repeated intentional focus on what you choose to grow. So as we end this journey together, let me offer you this final challenge. Do not let this be entertainment. Let it be instruction. Do not merely agree. Act. Decide today that you will think deliberately, that you will choose your thoughts with care, that you will dwell only on what you wish to see grow in your life, that you will feed your mind with ideas that strengthen you, that you will speak words that affirm your highest vision, that you will cultivate emotions of gratitude, faith, courage, and joy, that you will visualize, affirm, and act as the person you choose to become. Because you can. That is your birthright. That is the gift no one can take from you. And it is the gift that, if used, will reward you beyond anything you can imagine. Remember this always. You become what you think about. So choose thoughts worthy of the life you want to live. As you go from here, take a moment to reflect on the power you hold in your own mind. And if you found value in this message, if you believe others could benefit from it too, I invite you to share it, pass it along, start a conversation, help create a world where more people understand this truth and use it well, because the more of us who think deliberately, who choose wisely, who live purposefully, the better this world will be for all of us. And finally, I want to thank you for your attention, for your time, for your willingness to think with me deeply and honestly about the one law that decides your success. May you use it, may you live it, and may you become everything you have ever dreamed possible.